Mayor, members of the council, the meeting is now being live streamed.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 8th, 2026, 6 p.m. regular joint meeting of the Bell Garden City Council and successor agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order at 6:13 p.m. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any members of the City Council should have a conflict of interest, please announce any item you're recusing yourself from due to a conflict of interest prior to the item being heard. Tonight's invocation will be given by Minister Daniel Anguiano, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Chief Paul Camacho.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. If we can please come to our feet. Heavenly Father God, I just thank you for allowing us to be here in this evening, Father, for this body of leaders, Lord God, that you've given us, Lord Jesus, to watch and administer our city. Lord Father, we present before you tonight's agenda, Lord God, and I just pray that your knowledge and that your wisdom, Lord, be over our leaders, God. That your wisdom, Father, that was with you in the beginning of time, as your word says, Lord, that wisdom was with you, Father God, as you set the boundaries of the seas, Lord God, as you, Lord Father, created us, Lord Jesus, and I just pray, Father, that with reverent fear we come before you, Lord, Father, that your knowledge be with us in this evening, Father, that your wisdom, Lord God, guide us. Father God, I pray for those, Lord, who watch over us, Father God, who protect us, Lord God, who put their lives on the line, Lord Father, to protect the citizens of this city. Lord, we just pray for their families, Lord, and for the loved ones. God, that you may bring them back home safely every day, Lord Father God. And I pray over the citizens, Father God, of this city, for our city, Lord God, and every need that we have, Lord Father. You know, Jesus, all things. Lord Father, I just pray that you provide every resource, God, for the better of our city, Lord. In the name of Jesus, I pray this. Amen.
Please. Ready, begin. City Clerk, please conduct a roll call of the City Council.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena. Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilwoman Sanchez.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen.
Present.
Mayor de la Rosa.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move over to presentations. Acting City Manager, please introduce the presentations.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight's presentation, the first presentation is certificate of recognition for Sarah's Mini Market. If she can, they can come down to the podium, please.
Buenas tardes al honorable concilio y a todos los aquí presentes. Soy Osvaldo Conde y les voy a escribir un poquito de concerniente al negocio.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the business. We bought the business January 1st of 2018. And after having it for about 6 years, there were plans for us to move to Texas. And I was planning to retire that year. We decided to sell it because I have a son in Texas who had been telling me over and over to go move over there where he was. He was a federal agent there. And then my younger son is in the army and he was in Germany for 5 years. He came back, and so our plan was to move to Texas. But then he changed his mind and decided to go to school here. So he's at Cerrito College. So that is why we had decided to sell the business a year ago, but we're very good friends with the new owner who lives here in Bell Gardens. And he is away on vacation for a month and a half, and we're taking care of the business. So unless and until we move, we'll be there helping him. So I'd like to thank the council because I never had any trouble with the city. You were always there to help us and support us. And our business, we tripled, almost quadrupled the sales from the time that we bought the business. So I would like to thank the new mayor because he came over and visited us, as well as Councilman Barcena. I also had the pleasure of meeting Councilman Chavez. He came to the store to introduce himself and offer us support. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of your help and this certificate as well. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And it's admirable how you kept the business growing over all those years. And thank you for continuing to offer, well, a business that's very convenient for the residents here in this area. Anytime I go over there in that area, I stop, get a snack, get a drink. I enjoyed our little talk the other day, and it's very admirable, everything you've done. And even though you have transferred the business to another owner, it's really nice to see that you all are still going to the business and helping. In 85, 86, we lived for a couple of years in Bell Gardens. Then we moved because we bought a business somewhere else. But then when I heard that this business was up for sale, I came to see it. I fell in love with it. It reminded me of the time that we were here, and it went really well for us. We only sold it because of, as I said, the plans to move to Texas, but as long as we're here, we'll be there. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Osvaldo. We have the certificate here for Sarah's Mini Market. I'm going to read it.
Council proudly recognizes Sarah's Mini Market and commends the commitment to our community. Since 2018, Sarah's Mini Market has provided residents with convenient access to everyday essentials and has fostered a strong neighborhood connection, enhancing the quality of life to our Bell Gardens residents. We are grateful to Sarah's Mini Market for being an integral part of our community. We extend our sincerest appreciation and best wishes for continued success, growth, and prosperity. Signed by Miguel de la Rosa and the rest of the City Council. Muchas gracias, Osvaldo. Y ahorita voy a darles un momento a mis colegas para que digan unas palabras y luego pasaremos hacia enfrente y nos tomaremos una foto. ¿Okay? Gracias.
Solamente felicidades y gracias por el servicio que le brinda a los residentes de Bell Gardens. Y también especialmente felicidades que lo cuadrupliteó, no sé si se dice así, pero pues ya le sacó buen provecho a ese negocio y espero que vengan más años de prosperidad para usted y su familia.
Don Osvaldo, de parte mía, pues nomás le quiero felicitar por estar aquí en la comunidad, por participar. También tengo una pregunta. ¿Quién es Sara?
Sara era el dueño anterior, su hija era una niña que acababa de nacer y le puso Sara. Y cuando empecé el papeleo para poner el cambio de la licencia de cerveza y todo, no sé si andaba yo tan contento y tan todo que que ni pensé en cambiarle el nombre, yo lo que quería era aplicar y que todo fuera caminando rápido y todo, y eso, pero el nombre era, pues pasaba a segundo término. Tú sabes, yo estaba contento con avanzar y empezar, que esa licencia transfirieran y que todo, y le dejamos el nombre ese. Pero esa es la razón, era de la niña del dueño anterior, la hija.
Ah, muy bien, muy bien. Nunca, no sabía quién era Sara.
Ya.
Muchas gracias por compartir eso. A lo mejor un día, no sé si Sara ya miró su tienda como está ahora.
Oh, sí, grande ya.
Muy bien, muy bien, muy bien. No, pues de nuevo felicidades y pues muchos más años de prosperidad para usted y su familia y el negocio.
Muchas gracias, don Osvaldo. Entonces, ahorita en un momento hay que pasar enfrente y tomarnos una foto. City Manager, will you please announce the next item?
Thank you again, Honorable Mayor. Next item is the Juneteenth proclamation, and I'll have the council members read the proclamation.
Thank you so much, City Manager. Here we have a proclamation in honor of Juneteenth Day of Observance. It states, whereas Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commemorating freedom from slavery in the United States, and whereas on June 19th, 1865, more than 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, word finally reached Galveston, Texas, that slaves are free. And whereas on June 18th, 2021, President Joe Biden proclaimed Juneteenth as the 12th federal holiday to be observed on June 19th. And whereas on June 19th, we commit ourselves to the work of equity, equality, and justice, and commit together to eradicate systemic racism that still undermines our founding ideals and collective prosperity. And whereas Juneteenth is an observance celebrated with traditions handed down through many generations, including family gatherings and picnics, music, stories told by elders, local historians, speeches, and recognition of prominent individuals who made a significant achievement and contribution to the community. Whereas it is time for reflection and rejoicing, a time for assessment, self-improvement, and for planning the future. And whereas let's join together in celebration of freedom, family, and community by embodying the spirit of peace, respect, brotherly love, and to honor and salute our city's rich cultural legacy and diversity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Miguel de la Rosa, Mayor for the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim June 19th and annually thereafter as Juneteenth Day in the City of Bell Gardens, and urge all residents to reflect and celebrate this very important date in our nation's history and commit to rededicating ourselves to the ongoing work of guaranteeing liberty and equal rights to all Americans. Signed on this 8th day of June, 2026 by Miguel de la Rosa and the rest of the City Council. City Manager, will you please announce the next item?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Next item that is the proclamation for LGBTQ Pride Month, and our council members will be providing the
Thank you so much for that, Interim City Manager. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, City of Bell Gardens proclamation in honor of LGBTQ IA plus Pride Month. And it states, whereas as we celebrate June as Pride Month in Bell Gardens, California, reminded of what makes California great, our remarkable capacity to advance together across every conceivable difference, no matter the physical distance between us. From our separate homes, we stand together with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, and more LGBTQI plus community of Bell Gardens as they declare their pride in who they are and whom they love. And whereas the LGBTQIA plus community has worked tirelessly for respect, equality, and their very right to exist, their battles have been fought in the courts, from marriage equality to demanding equal protection under the law. And while there has been remarkable progress towards acceptance and equality in recent years, members of the LGBTQIA plus community in the United States and around the world still face an unacceptable level of discrimination and violence. This includes people who aren't safe at home and those who do not have a home in which to stay. And we must push back against those who threaten the safety of LGBTQIA plus Bell Gardens residents and challenge our progress. And we must continue to make the case that all humans beings share something fundamental in common. All of us want to be loved and all of us want to love. We stand with our LGBTQIA plus family, friends, and neighbors, and Pride celebrations are a prominent feature of Pride Month. And in this city of Bell Gardens, we are proud to support our LGBTQIA plus community's rights to live their lives out loud. As we celebrate Pride in Bell Gardens and across the state, we must continue to demand equal rights for all to create a California for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Miguel de la Rosa, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, to hereby proclaim the month of June as LGBTQIA plus Pride Month in Bell Gardens and encourage all residents to eliminate prejudice wherever it exists and celebrate our LGBTQIA plus community. Proclaim this 8th day of June 2026. Signed, Mayor Miguel de la Rosa, along with the Bell Gardens City Council.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez. At this time, we will now begin with item number 6.1. I will open public hearing at 6:30 p.m. Acting City Manager, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. The first item is the status update of staff's vacancy in compliance with Assembly Bill 2561, 2024 local public employees vacancy positions. This is an annual report that's presented by state law to the state. Director of Finance and Administrative Services, Manuel Carrillo, will provide a brief presentation.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. With us this evening is Mr. Andrew C. He's our Human Resources Manager. He'll be able to provide us with an update on the city's annual reporting for AB 2561. Andrew?
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. This evening I'm presenting to you the AB 2561 2026 annual reporting. As Mr. Carrillo has stated, AB 2561 took effect January 1st, 2025. It adds government code sections 3502.3 to the Meyer-Milius-Brown Act. This law requires public agencies to annually report on job vacancies and recruitment and retention efforts. The annual reporting is required to present on the vacancy status, recruitments, and retention before the annual formal budget is adopted in each public agency. And any bargaining units that has a 20% vacancy rate will hire subject to additional reporting obligations. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide increased transparency on staffing shortages, to address recruitment and retention challenges, and also to provide a forum to discuss challenges to maintaining a stable workforce. The recognized bargaining units are also entitled to be present during the public hearing to voice their concerns and opinions. And also currently the city has 5 recognized bargaining groups. So we have the CEA, the Bell Gardens Police Officers Association, the Bell Gardens Police Management Association, Bell Gardens Public Works Employees Association, and the Bell Gardens Public Works Supervisors Association. Currently, the city's authorized for 157 full-time positions. current vacancies, we have 2 in the Bell Gardens CEA. We have 3 positions in the Bell Gardens Police Officers Association. And the non-rep group, we have 2 vacancies. No groups currently meet or exceed the 20% vacancy threshold. What are these openings? Police officers are continuous recruitment. As we all know, it's very difficult to hire public safety personnel, just given the tedious process and having the potential candidate to go through the background process, and it does take a while. We were fortunate enough to finally find a suitable accountant candidate. This person is currently in background, he should be on board in a couple of weeks. There is 1 senior secretary position that's unfunded, that's in the community development position. There's a human resource technician position that's unfilled currently in the human resources division. And finally, our city manager position is currently vacant, being held by our interim city manager. As I mentioned, police officers remain an industry-wide challenge due to the limited pool of qualified applicants. What are some of our retention efforts? Well, we have open communication with our bargaining units. We also recognize our employees with their annual service awards. We offer employees training, development opportunities throughout the year. And our city's workforce remains really stable. Majority of our city staff here have been here at least 5 years or more. We have many people who have been here at least 15 years plus. Conclusions. So this presentation meets our city's obligation towards AB 2561. Again, all groups are under the 20% vacancy threshold. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you for the presentation, Andy. Quick question. What would occur if we reach the 20% vacancy threshold? This is just out of curiosity. What would be the approach, or
Then we would need to provide additional reporting to the bargaining units as to why we're unable to fill those positions, and instead share with them why the turnover, why weren't we able to fill those positions? Were there any other reasons besides unable to find the suitable applicants that the positions are vacant?
Thank you so much for the explanation.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments from my colleagues? If not, we will now open public participation for this item. City Clerk, will you please announce the instructions for public participation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on public hearing item 6.1 only. Please state your name for the record before addressing the members of the City Council and successor agency. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person. We did not receive any written communication cards or public comment cards. And I currently do not have anyone raising their hand virtually.
Thank you, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council successor agency, I will now close public participation for public hearing item 6.1. If there are no more further questions or comments, I will also close public hearings at 6:37 p.m. May I have a motion to receive and file this report?
So move. Second.
We have a first and second. City Clerk, please conduct a roll call vote.
Yes, thank you, members of the council and successor agency. Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen, and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. We will now begin with item number 6.2. At this time, I will open public hearing at 6:38 p.m. Acting City Manager, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you. The second public hearing is consideration of an ordinance number 969, adopting a military equipment use policy as required by Assembly Bill 481. This is a military use report that is required by state law. Chief of Police Paul Camacho will provide a quick presentation.
Good evening. Tonight with us is Lieutenant Frank Garcia, who will be presenting the AB 481 report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Pursuant to California Assembly Bill 481, staff has presented a department annual military equipment report, which provides transparency regarding the acquisition, use, and oversight of authorized equipment. This presentation summarizes equipment usage, training, deployments, complaints, costs, and a compliance with the city's adopted military equipment use policy during this reporting period. To outline and explain the current uses of the goals of the presentation are to outline and explain the current uses of military style equipment utilized by the Bell Gardens Police Department. To describe the need and importance for this equipment used, which is used to maintain public safety and provide the highest quality of police services in our community. And to provide an annual report to the City Council as defined in Assembly Bill 481. Assembly Bill 481 requires that law enforcement agencies obtain approval from the governing body by adoption of a military style equipment use policy prior to taking certain actions relating to funding, acquisition, or use. And please, if you guys have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to ask. Why is it important? Why is the equipment important? It's to protect and safeguard the community, to de-escalate and bring a safe resolution to critical incidents, and to properly equip our officers to perform their jobs. There are 15 categories that we focus on when speaking about AB 481. I'll go through them really quick. I'm sure you guys can read them, but I'll go through them real quick so you guys understand. So the first one is unmanned remotely piloted power aerial or ground vehicles. Second one is mine-resistant ambush protected vehicles or armored personnel carriers. High mobility multi-purpose wheeled vehicles. Tracked armored vehicles that provide ballistic protection. Command and control vehicles. Weaponized aircrafts, vessels, or vehicles. Battering rams, slugs, and breaching apparatuses that are explosive in nature. Firearms of 50 caliber or greater, ammunition of 50 caliber or greater, specialized firearms and ammunition of less than 50 caliber, including assault weapons. Any firearm or firearm accessory that is designed to launch explosive projectiles. Diversionary devices and explosive breaching tools, tear gas and pepper balls. Taser, shockwave, microwave weapons, water cannons, and long rifle acoustic devices, or long range acoustic devices. The following projectile launch platforms and their associated munitions: 40 millimeter projectile launchers, beanbag rubber bullets, and specialty impact munitions, sim weapons. Any other equipment as determined by a governing body or state agency to require additional oversight. So I'll go over some of the equipment that we have here at the Bell Gardens Police Department. We currently have 8 drones, which are utilized to monitor large crowds, for collision reconstruction, pre-tactical deployments, search for missing persons, patrol led investigations, aerial search investigation, search for lost persons. So we use these drones mostly for reconstruction of our traffic collisions, specifically our fatalities. We currently have one MRAP, a Canaan Armored Personnel Carrier Rescue Vehicle. I'm sure all of you have had the opportunity to view it. I think some of them have ridden around in it for our Christmas parades. Our specialized firearms and ammunition. We have a Colt carbine rifles. We have 1-8 Ruger American bolt action rifle, which is a precision rifle, and then our SIG Sauer MPX 9mm pistols. Diversionary devices in conjunction with breaching tools are used as distractions to safely gain entry into a location. Some of the breaching tools that we currently use are detonating cord, blasting caps, sheet explosives, and breaching shotguns. Chemical munitions that we have are smoke whites, triple chasers, speed heat CS, pocket tackle CS, tri-chamber CS, CS flameless expulsion, Stinger CS rubber balls, Stinger OC rubber balls, OC aerosol and riot control CS. The projectile launcher platforms that we use are the 40 millimeter launchers, specialty impact munitions, which are ferrets, direct impact, oleoresin capsicum, crushable rounds, direct impact, CS crushable rounds, sponge rounds, beanbag shotguns, beanbag super stock ammunition. So we've had a total of, for fiscal year 25-26, we have a total of 21 times that we've used our equipment. The drones, we've used them 9 times, armored vehicle 8 times, diversionary devices 2 times, and the 40 millimeter projectile launchers 2 times. As a result of these deployments, we have received no complaints with any of the equipment that we've used. Our BGPD policy and the AB 481 annual report is uploaded onto our website, so the public is free to view all of our documents with full transparency. And that concludes the end of our presentation here. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Thank you so much. Referring to that slide where the counts of uses are identified, would the 40 millimeter launcher tie in with the diversionary devices, or they're both independent uses?
They're independent uses.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Any other questions regarding this presentation from my fellow colleagues? And if not, we will now open public participation for this item. City Clerk, please announce the instructions for public participation.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on public hearing item number 6.2. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We didn't receive any public comment cards or any written comments, and we do have one person who has their hand raised. Zoom ID with the ID name Mario, you may begin to speak.
Yeah, I just have one question for the chief here. So I was trying to pursue, I'm a resident of Southgate, I was trying to pursue getting an official, helping to get, help my city score an official police grade drone. These drones cost like $50,000, is what I was told by our chief of police. And I wanted to use the CDBG funds to cover the cost of this. And the lady in charge who works at Southgate City Hall, Carol Averill, she informed me that it wouldn't qualify because it has to have a direct and immediate benefit for the residents. And the residents would have to be able to make use of whatever project it is that you want to fund. And they wouldn't be making use of the drone, of course. So the question I have for the chief is, does Bell Gardens Police Department have an official police grade drone, the $50,000 caliber type that I would like to see my city one day have? And then I'm just going to squeeze this in. I'm sure that the chief is aware of a device called the Grappler. Do you have any intention of purchasing a Grappler for your police department? I think that's something that should be standard practice for police agencies nowadays. I'll end with that.
Thank you. There are no other virtual participants who have their hand raised at this time.
Thank you, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council successor agency, I will now close public participation for public hearing item 6.2. If there are no more questions or comments from the City Council, I will also close public hearing at 6:48 PM. May I have a motion for this item?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Just to clarify, the motion is to adopt staff's recommendation, which is to waive the full reading and introduce ordinance number 969.
I'll second.
Mayor Pro Tem, are you okay with the clarification? So we have a motion by Councilwoman Francis De Leon Sanchez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Guillen.
Thank you for the clarification. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll now begin with,
Any opposed? Sorry for clarification.
yes, didn't seem like anyone opposed.
Can we just get clarification, no opposition?
Any abstentions? Ayes have it.
City Clerk, is that sufficient?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now begin with item number 6.3. At this time, I will open public hearing at 6:49 PM. Acting CM, will you please conduct an introduction of this item?
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. This item is consideration of an ordinance to amend section 3.04, 0.050, requisition, 3.04060, purchasing order requirement, 3.04090, informal and purchasing procedures, and 3.04100 exemptions in chapter 3.04 purchasing systems and Title 3 revenue and finance of the city of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code. This is a proposed revision to the purchasing section of the municipal code. Director of Finance and Administrative Service Manuel Corrillo will provide you with a quick report.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Mayor and members of the City Council, this evening we'll be providing a consideration of an ordinance to amend sections 3.04.05 requisitions, 3.04.060 purchase order required, 3.04.090 informal purchasing procedures, and 3.04.100 exceptions of chapter 3.04 purchasing system of title, revenue and finance of the City of Bell Gardens Municipal Code. A bit of a background, Chapter 3.04 Purchasing Systems of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code establishes procedures governing the purchase of supplies, equipment, and services for the city. Several provisions within the chapter currently establish the $1,000 threshold for routine administrative purchases. Purchasing procedures, including sections 3.04.05, 3.04.060, 3.04.090, and 3.04.100 of Chapter 3.04. Now, the current threshold was established in 1993 and has remained unchanged for more than 30 years. Now, due to increased operational and material costs, many routine purchases now exceed the existing threshold, resulting in additional administrative processing for minor expenditures. The proposed amended to the purchasing policy, the proposed ordinance would increase the administrative purchasing threshold from 1,000 to 5,000 in order to improve operational efficiency and streamline routine purchasing procedures while maintaining existing fiscal controls and procurement requirements. Currently, the federal low-value purchase limit is $15,000 for most civilian and defense agencies. Purchases at or below this amount can be made without seeking competitive quotes, provided the price is deemed reasonable and purchases are distributed equally. Now, as a form of comparative analysis, the following surrounding cities have the following purchasing policies. City of Pico Rivera, department heads or designees may approve purchases under $10,000. The City of Commerce, department heads or designees may approve purchases under $5,000. And the City of Huntington Park, department heads or designees may approve purchases under 5,000. Now, increasing the purchasing threshold will assist the city in streamlining buying processes, and allowing for reduced administrative burden and faster procurement cycles. The proposed ordinance amends the following provisions of Chapter 3.04, Purchasing Systems of Title, Revenue and Finance, the Bell Gardens Municipal Code, Sections 3.04.50, Requisitions, Sections 3.04.060, Purchase Orders Required, Section 3.04.090, Informal Purchasing Procedures, and Section 3.04.100, Exceptions. The proposed ordinance would streamline routine purchasing procedures, improve administrative efficiency, and allow departments to more efficiently address operational and maintenance needs while maintaining existing fiscal controls and procurement requirements. It is staff's recommendation that the City Council waive full reading and introduce ordinance number 970 by title only to amend section 3.04.50 requisitions, 3.04.060 purchase orders, 3.04.090 informal purchasing procedures, 3.04.100 exceptions of the chapter 3.04 purchasing system of Title III Revenue and Finance of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code to increase the administrative purchasing threshold from 1,000 to 5,000. And that does conclude my presentation. Be glad to answer any questions that council might have.
Thank you so much, Manny, for the presentation. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments?
Can I just go to the comparison chart again for the other cities of the allotted amount, please? And do you know by chance when's the last time this was visited to see like the amounts allotted? When's the last time we looked at this?
So this was just recently done as part of our research for the presentation itself. So this is the current threshold for those respective cities.
As far as our own city, when's the last time that we looked at this?
Well, the last time it was changed was 1993.
That's what I wanted to check. Okay, thanks.
It's a long time. I do have a question, Manny. Would this threshold be on a case-by-case basis, or is just an annual budget?
Well, it is a change to in advance to the current, the current threshold that we have. Now we found that the limited threshold of 1,000 really does put a limit and makes more administrative requirements to document everything. Whereas if it's 5,000, it would streamline procedures much more quicker.
Thank you so much, Manny. There are no more questions or comments from my fellow colleagues. I will now open public participation for this item. City Clerk, please announce the instructions for public participation.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on public hearing item number 6.3. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone. And when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and selecting the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We didn't receive any public comment cards or written comments, and we do not have anyone raising their hand virtually at this time.
Thank you, City Clerk. If there's no objections by the members of the City Council, I will now close public participation for public hearing item number 6.3. And if there's also no questions or comments on behalf of council, I will also close public hearing at 6:57 p.m. May I have a motion to approve the item according to staff's recommendation?
Motion to approve according to staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. Members of the council and successor agency, Barsana?
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez?
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen, and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, City Clerk. We will now begin with item number 6.4. At this time, I will open public hearing at 6:58 PM. Acting CM, would you please conduct introduction of this item?
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. This last public hearing is consideration of a resolution approving a proposed sale of Bell Gardens Municipal Water System to Golden State Water Company, calling on election on November 3rd, 2026 to present a proposal to city's voters and first reading of ordinance authorizing the sale is subject to voters and approval. This is a ballot measure authorizing the sale of the water system on the November 26th. Director of Public Works and Facilities, Bernie Inigas, will provide you a council report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Acosta. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of Council. I'll be providing this presentation along with City Engineer Doug Benage and Special Counsel John DeCristina. Starting with background, the city owns and operates the Bell Gardens Municipal Water System, which provides water utility services to approximately 1/3 of the city residents. We have roughly 1,650 service connections, and this is residential, commercial, and industrial. Recently, the water system has faced significant financial challenges from an aging infrastructure that requires capital investments, regulatory compliance obligations, and debt. The city therefore issued a request for proposals, or RFP, in late 2025 to solicit offers to purchase and operate the water system. The city received 2 proposals in response to the RFP. One was from California American Water Company, and the other one was from Golden State Water Company. Both of these companies are experienced water utilities that are fully capable of providing safe and reliable service to the city's residents. And both proposals commit to keeping rates stable in the short term, with future rate increases limited by the California Public Utilities Commission. So I will go ahead and turn it over to City Engineer Doug Benage to talk about the evaluation process.
Good evening, council members and mayor. After thoroughly reviewing the proposals from both CalAm and Golden State Water, it was determined that staff recommends accepting the proposal from Golden State Water because they provide us the greatest benefit to the community. And their proposal is highlighted by the following. It provides a competitive price of $41 million to purchase the city's entire water system, including all its water rights. It offers immediate physical integration to the existing adjacent system, the southerly 2/3 of the city, into the northerly 2/3 by constructing reinstating an interconnect at Darwell and Gage, and then constructing a new interconnect on the east side of town, close to the well site. They demonstrate a reliable path to continued system reliability, most importantly through the redundant water supplies and a commitment to capital investments. And they include a reliable evidence of long-term affordability for customers by spreading the costs, especially capital costs, across a significantly larger customer base in the same region. And with that, I will introduce John DeCristina, provide the next steps.
Thank you again. So I'm the lawyer. I'm John DeCristina. I'm with the firm Colantino, Highsmith & Watley. We specialize in municipal finance issues, and so I've been helping out the city attorney's office on this project. So if you choose to move forward with this, if you wanted to take the next step in selling your water system to Golden State, it's governed by the Public Utilities Code. So there are some procedural issues that we need to handle tonight. And so the first thing is that, and you may be familiar with this in other actions you take as a council, is that you need to make certain findings. And in this case, you would need to find that if you were to sell the system, that your residents would receive at least as good water service from Golden State as they currently receive from the city's system. And so the resolution and the ordinance before you tonight includes findings based on the proposal. And honestly, with a company like Golden State, it's not difficult to make those findings. They're a reputable group. If you want to sell your system, that shouldn't be a problem here. The second is that you need the voters' approval to sell this kind of property. And so the second part of the resolution and ordinance that's before you tonight is basically putting an initiative before them on the November ballot. So you have the initiative itself, which is the ordinance, which gives you permission to sell the water system. And then the resolution, which handles the procedural part, right? Which goes on record directing your clerk to work with LA County to consolidate this and get this on the ballot in November. There's also the last thing is that there was a notice requirement. So this was published in the newspaper. Tonight's hearing was published in the newspaper. Right. And so this is important for you to know is that if the voters, so if you vote no tonight, the sale doesn't go through, right? If you decide you don't want to sell the system, that's the end of the process. If the voters say no, that's the end of the process. If they vote yes, that's also not the end of the process. A sale like this, City of Bell Gardens are not regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission, but Golden State and indeed any private company who would buy your system from you is regulated by the CPUC. And so before they can move forward with this, after the voters say, we're okay letting the city sell it to you, they need to go to the CPUC and say, look, we got permission from the city's voters, so will you give us permission, regulatory approval for this sale? And so the CPUC is going to hold some hearings. It's going to issue a decision. It is empowered to and frankly is likely to impose conditions on the sale. And so it's going to tell Golden State things, for example, that you need to keep rates at a certain level. You can't increase them too quickly to recover the money that you just paid to the city. You need to make sure you spread it out equitably across all of your customers. Conditions like that. Now, those conditions that I just described are probably, I imagine you would be okay with that, but this is an unknown. I cannot, nobody could responsibly tell you what the CPUC is going to do, right? Who knows what conditions they might impose. And so if they do impose conditions that you don't like, you still have the opportunity at that point to back out because like this is not what we were planning, right? This is not the proposal. We thought we were going to get certain benefits. Your conditions take away those benefits. You were still at that point are able to pull out of the transaction. Right. And so then this is just procedural stuff. If you've approved initiatives before, you're familiar with everything that's up on the screen there. It's an initiative, so there's going to be an impartial analysis that your city attorney puts out. There's an opportunity for people to submit arguments in favor of and against the proposal, everything that you would see in a normal initiative. This is the ballot question. It is unfortunate but this is the statutory way we're supposed to frame ballot arguments is shall the measure ... be adopted. And so this is just, can you sell the system to Golden State? The cost is what you would expect from any normal ballot initiative. This is not a more expensive election or less expensive. And it's probably, it's marginal based on what you're already going through for your municipal election in November. But of course, if it goes through, then Golden State has offered to pay you $41 million, which would go into the general fund. And so now I suppose since I'm standing here, that's the conclusion. But I will, of course, yield if you have technical questions. I'm not an engineer. You don't want me to answer them. But if you do have procedural questions, I will be on hand for the rest of this hearing to answer any questions you have. But it is the recommendation of staff and me as your special counsel. If you're going to sell your water system, this is a good offer to accept. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So staff recommends that the city council consider and approve the attached resolution proposing to sell the city's water system to Golden State and placing that question on the ballot, and that council conduct the first reading of the ordinance to be presented to voters on that ballot. So that concludes our presentation. And I also want to mention that Golden State General Manager Nemo Ochoa is also here in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you for the thorough presentation. We will now move over to council member questions and comments. Does the council have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So if we get permission from the voters to sell the water system, then the council still needs to provide a final direction, right? After the approval is given via the vote, correct?
Yes, sir. So what happens after the voters approve is that Golden State goes to the CPUC, and that's when things might change. And if they change in a meaningful way that you don't like, you're being offered something tonight, and the CPUC may say, nope, the offer needs to change from A to B, and you're saying, well, we expected A, we're now getting B, so we no longer approve this. And so so that's a long way to the short question, which is the voters, it's approval, not it's a made, not a must.
The question is, what if there isn't a change and it's the same? Does the council still get to deliberate on that?
You have less room to, so you're saying, so if the CPUC basically says, this is fine, no changes, we approve the sale. No, I mean, if we accept it tonight, if you propose it tonight, I mean, let me say it this way, is that there are going to be negotiations here, right? And so it's not necessarily that this one proposal is going to the CPUC. Your staff, your city attorney, your engineers are going to be working with Golden State to go through all of the details. And that's where your deliberation is going to come, if that makes sense. And so after the CPUC, if they say, no, this is fine, then I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, but I hope I'm answering your question. Is that your after tonight, really it's in the nuts and bolts negotiations that you are going to have with the Golden State's folks.
Thank you.
Mr. John and Christina, quick question. So during the presentation, you stated that during the sale process, the CPUC may impose conditions. Can the city impose conditions, or does it strictly have to be from the CPUC?
No, that's where the negotiations over the specifics are going to get into those kinds of details, Mayor. And so you have, a proposal that's going to turn into, again, formal sit-down negotiations between your staff and Golden State's to work out all of the details that aren't covered in the proposal, because there are many.
Just to add to that,
Yeah.
we can't impose conditions on the CPUC though. That's the one where what they tell us is basically what we have to follow, but the negotiations would happen between the city and Golden State, not with the city and CPUC. Just to clarify, John, is that correct?
Yeah. No, yes, that's correct, Stephanie.
And this would occur after voters would give us permission to proceed with negotiations, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Although the negotiations can start now. There's nothing there. I mean, it's really what you all think. I mean, they don't need to start before the voters approve it. But the CPUC process doesn't start until the voters weigh in.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments from my fellow colleagues?
Yes. So I know that you said the CUPC will put some regulations on making sure that they don't increase the water rates to our residents. And I don't know if you can answer this or who can answer this, but what is that going to look like maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, saying that we do agree to sell the water system and it is sold to Golden State, especially to make sure that we put these protections that the water rates aren't increasing, especially for our working families, our renters, our seniors, to make sure that it's affordable. So
Yeah. So that is the bread and butter of what the CPUC does with private utilities like this. And so what they do, they go through a process I want to say it's around every 5 years. But they look at their rates and they do an evaluation of what do you need to provide reasonable service, right? And I mean, it's a private company. They will allow a reasonable rate of return. They will allow a reasonable profit, but it is based on in the first, what do we need to get people safe, reliable service? How much should that cost? And tying those two together plus the reasonable rate of return that a private utility can get. But so the short answer to your question, ma'am, is that it's ongoing, that the CPUC never stops paying attention to their rates and approving the rates. Like they can't impose rates without the CPUC's approval.
The other question that I have, and this might be for our engineers and our staff, but how many years have we been in a deficit because of our water system? And then remind me, is it only 30% of our current residents that are getting service from that current water system? And then how many years has it been that we've tried to clean the water so that it is below the PFAS level and all that, and that we're able to provide that specific water instead of importing water for that 30% of our residents?
Okay, that's fair enough. The first answer I'll give is that the northern third of the city is Bell Garden City water that is provided by the well at the south end of Veterans Park. The rest of the city, basically south of Florence Place, is provided by Golden State Water. And they have made improvements to their system to deal with the PFAS in the wells that they're draw from inside the city and distribute throughout there, out the residents of Bell Gardens. In 2020, we presented the first of the 5-year rate increases in order to start bringing up the water rates to be on par, but a little bit below Golden State's for the rest of the city to help recover the debt that was incurred by not raising the rates for 15 to 20 years. City fathers chose just not to deal with it for whatever reason. But that was, and that debt wound up being like plus or minus $5 to $6 million 5 years ago. After the water rates were approved July, August of 2020, come September of 2020, if memory serves me right, we reached the PFAS notification levels in our well that was providing groundwater. Council determined at that time you had 3 options: turn the well off, notify the residents that there's PFAS in the water based on the notification limits, or try to blend the water with another source. At the time, we couldn't blend relatively easily without expending a significant amount of money to get the connection into the wellhead. It was like about about $3 to $5 million project. Do that. Notifications, council determined not to notify and just turn the well off. By turning the well off, we relied 100% on Metropolitan Water District water, about 3 times the cost of what groundwater costs from that standpoint. So on top of the original debt service that we had, we've now added about $1.2 million a year in water costs, actually about $1.5 million of water costs just to provide the outsourced water. At the time, in 2020, 2021, we presented to council the due direction to investigate the well and start the development of a study to see what we can do with the PFAS in the well. That turned into a project that provided us to get direction to get 100% design plans for a PFAS treatment plant, which we have on the books right now, and try to maintain and try to get grant funding for that. About a year and a half ago, we were going to come to city council with a rate increase. We was determined to put it on hold in order to cover those costs for the PFAS treatment plant, and simultaneously sidetrack or simultaneous tracks, trying to either get state funding for that and whatnot, or have the ratepayers pay for the PFAS treatment plant, which would have really increased the rates to either almost greater than what Golden State rates are. Because it's an $8 million project, and we would amortize that over 15 years at about $700,000 to $900,000 a year that we'd have to additionally recover through the rates. So at the time, that was determined to try to, let's do an RFP to see if we can sell the system. And here we are today. Did I miss a question? Okay.
I think you got all of them. Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you for explaining the timeline and what that looks like. The other question I have, and I think this might be for Golden State, how is the value of the water system determined? And then how do we know that the proposed sale price is going to reflect a long-term value of this essential infrastructure rather than just providing this one-time financial benefit?
Water.
Sure, thank you.
Honorable Mayor, City Council members, first off, thank you. It's a interesting question coming from, as an engineer in public service for 25 years, I can understand the struggles of a public water system. Now being on the side of a investor-owned utility, a lot of equations and finances and understanding of business go into determining those costs. And what we were willing to invest into the system. There's something called replacement costs less depreciation to understand what the value of the assets are within the system. Coupled with what we felt was required to invest into the infrastructure to get it updated so we could continue to provide reliable water service. Addressing treatment needs within this basin. Golden State Water Company has a strong reputation for treating all kinds of constituents in this basin, Central Basin. We've got 4 wells actively providing water to this community. All of them are treated for different various constituents that occur in the groundwater basin because of a lot of the industry that had been here for so many years. That includes everything from volatile organic compounds. We have a PFAS treatment already in place. We have a new PFAS treatment that is going to be implemented by 2028. We have a new well that's being constructed on Gage. So that's going to be basically how we provide reliable drinking water for this community with groundwater that's underneath us, instead of having to rely on imported water to provide our community with drinking water. So all of that goes into that calculation of what we can afford in terms of providing high quality drinking water, not only for this for this community, but also for future residents. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, you did. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Ochoa, before you take a seat, I wanted to ask you, in your experience, professional experience with the acquisition of water systems, how often does the proposed number actually reflect the end deal? For example, right now on paper, we're looking at about a little bit over 40 million. I know a lot of factors still have a lot to play throughout the process, but what is the likelihood that 41 million would actually be the end number once the CPUC implements its conditions and the sale proceed?
Is going to be negotiating with the city and committing to that price, all the different variables that go into that number. And then the CPUC really looks at equity, how much we're paying for the system. Where is that money coming from? What's it coming from rates? How does that translate into near-term and long-term impact? So personally, I haven't been a part of a lot of acquisitions. And I think the attorney that was here before me speaking may be able to speak more towards a lot of the acquisitions that he may have been a part of. But I know that Golden State has a good reputation and strong record in terms of being able to implement acquisitions, incorporating all the different aspects of the transition, and acquiring the system, working with the cities, and also appeasing the requirements of the CPUC.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, please.
So Mayor, would you like me to add to Mr. Ochoa's comments?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
please.
so if I understand your question correct, sir, it's that, so if they've offered 41 million, the city wants to accept 41 million, that goes to the CPUC. Is the CPUC going to say, no, actually, you're going to need this, we're going to lower this price for reasons X, Y, and Z? Is that your question? That's very unlikely. And so what is more likely, as Mr. Ochoa mentioned, is that they will focus on where that money comes from. And it would be, that Golden State would be restricted on how quickly it could increase rate revenues, how much is coming from ratepayers versus investors, other sources of income that the company may have. Now, so that then indirectly may affect the city if, you have leeway after tonight, Golden State will too. If the CPUC puts conditions on this that says, no, you can't, you actually, you can pay 41 million, but you can't recover any of it from ratepayers, then that would be a situation where Golden State might need to come back to you and say, like, well, we need to renegotiate this. Now, I'm throwing that out as a possibility in response to your question. I want to be very clear. I don't think that is incredibly unlikely that it would be that significant that a company would need to come back to you and renegotiate it. What is far more likely is it's going to be trimming the edges of Golden State, how Golden State can pay for this. But the CPUC is not, they are not naive. Golden State is not naive, right? Like this kind of transaction is likely to go through looking a lot like it does. It's just my job as your attorney to keep your flexibility open, right?
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. DiCastrina. My next set of questions would be, again, for clarification purposes. Annually, what is the cost of outsourcing water for this portion of the system?
The actual numbers for the actual cost of water that we're purchasing from Met is about $1.5 million a year. And we pay that through the Central Basin Municipal Water District.
And approximately, what would be the cost to address the issues with current water well?
We have two options. We build the PFAS ion exchange treatment plant at approximately $8 million, or we can turn the well on and notify the consumers of the PFAS exceedances, and there's just nominal cost to turn the well back on. Yeah, okay.
And let's assume the water well does get addressed with the 8 million. What would be the approximate cost to annually maintain a water system like this?
That was it. We asked our design engineer, Tetra Tech, for the PFAS treatment plant to come up with an estimated O&M cost. That comes out to about 1.3 million annually, just for the O&M of the PFAS treatment plant. Plus our annual regular system maintenance that we utilize Liberty Utilities with at about 300 grand. And then the groundwater costs that we paid, which are much cheaper than the Met costs at $465,000 a year, for a total of $2,665,000 annually of O&M costs to run the treatment plant and turn the well back on. Option two, if we just turn the well back on, it's basically the 300,000 of annual O&M plus the water cost of 465 for an annual cost of $765,000.
Thank you so much, Doug. Appreciate it. Any other questions, comments from my fellow colleagues? If not, we'll move over to open public participation for this item. City Clerk, will you please announce the instructions for public participation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on public hearing item number 6.4. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We didn't receive any public comment cards or written comments, but we do have someone raising their hand virtually. Zoom ID beginning with the ID Mario. If you would please select the microphone icon, you may proceed with your comment.
Yeah, this is a disaster here. I mean, this looks like just massive city neglect. I don't know how Bell Garden City Hall was allowed this neglect to accumulate to the point where now you're forced to deal with this situation of selling off your water infrastructure. I've never even heard of a city selling off its water infrastructure. Look, just because something is broke, you don't just throw out the whole damn system, you fix it. Now, the question I want to know is, does Bell Garden City Hall have the resources and the means to fix the 1/3 water infrastructure it has to feed its residents the water they need? Can you guys afford to do the necessary upgrades and repairs and to clear out that PFAS also? Yeah, there are no good options here, council members. Staff's recommendation is simply that. It's a recommendation. You don't have to proceed with this now. You can revisit it. I don't know when, but the option of selling your water infrastructure, I can't say you should go down that way. I would look to see if it's salvageable, if the city has the money to fix it. The one thing, a story I want to share with you. So here in Southgate, they were looking at selling off its lighting infrastructure for all the residential streets. And if we were to have done it, it would have been Southern California Edison. But this was last year. They did their presentation and they said that if we were to get new lights, the poles, it would have like these wires that went across the streets, not up across the streets, but along the right of way from pole to pole, and the council members rejected it because look, we don't want this clutter up above our streets if we still have our lighting infrastructure, because they didn't want to pay for the cost of fixing and repairing and all the upgrades and cost of maintenance. But so they ended up saying no to that. And council members, I want to caution you. Once you sell off your infrastructure, there's no getting it back. And another example was the city of Southgate used to contract out, used to do its own street sweeping. So they sold off the vehicles and the machinery. And then like 2 years ago, there was a council member who said, well, why are we still paying for contract services? Why don't we do it ourselves? Oh yeah, we sold off all the equipment.
Yeah, 30 seconds left.
So once it's gone, council members. I would urge you to ask, are there any other cities that are contracting out their water services and having their water provided from outsource, from other sources? Has staff done any research to see what other cities are getting their water from other sources that isn't city owned or city based? All in with that. Good luck.
Thank you. That is the last virtual part. Oh, and I'm sorry, I have someone who just raised their hand virtually. Zoom ID beginning with the name Edwin. If you would please select the microphone icon, you may proceed with your comment.
Council, good evening. For the record, I happen to be Mr. Edwin Gonzalez, a humble resident of Bell, California. I reside in a community that is adjacent to the 710 freeway, and because of our location, we are customers of the Golden State Water Company. This proposal that Bell Gardens sell its municipal water system to a private company, for one thing, shows that this community is at a true crossroads. You're trying to sustain the community economically, and you're moving forward with these projects that can allow you to remain sustainable in the upcoming years. It's so great for me personally to become acquainted with you during these past few months and be able to observe you deal with some complex issues. So thank you once again in allowing me to participate in your effort to help the city of Bell Gardens reach a new threshold. For one, it keeps me really busy, and frankly, I don't know how much more I can take. But to break this down a bit, agenda item 6.4 I would just like to highlight to mainly the residents who do need to be more engaged that this water supply will be transferred over to a private entity that is beholden to their share stakeholders. Is that the best thing for the people who consume the water, the ones who rely on it? I'm not necessarily speaking for or against this item. I do believe there can be great benefit to this community if it proceeds with the sale. I think what's most relevant at this juncture, the thing is, you obviously have an antiquated water system and it needs much more support. So aside from the 41 million reasons to have Golden State Water purchase and have them be responsible for supplying water to our communities, I think these proceedings present a great opportunity to have more civic engagement from members of our community. So anyone who is interested in knowing more about what goes on in this city, come by and see how this project is implemented. Your timing will be absolutely perfect because this is a big deal. This type of transformation can only be successful if we have community input. As the year progresses, I'm asking the leadership of this community to hold special meetings for this project. Thank you, and let's have an amazing summer.
Thank you for your comment. And that is the last virtual participant.
Thank you, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council successor agency, I will close public participation for item number 6.4. Any other questions or comments from my fellow colleagues? Mr. Dominguez did mention in his public comment that wondering if any surrounding cities have sold their water system. And I just want to ask staff if there's been a case where a similar system of our scale has been sold to a private water company. And if so, is there any insight to that? Thank you so much.
A couple of notable ones, the Sativa water system. That was just, they had water issues, black and brown water, and they got sold a couple of years back. There's been a couple in the city of Bellflower, or at least one in the city of Bellflower recently. That's even one of the state's requirements as we're going through the planning grant process. In order to maybe obtain construction funding from the state, they want us to evaluate consolidation, which is someone acquiring the system. So this is not uncommon. Those are the two that I know of off the top of my head.
Thank you so much, Doug. Thank you.
And I can speak actually to the Bellflower system. I actually worked for the city at the time. So that system was purchased by California American Water about 10 years ago or so. And I have had contact with staff there, and I have not heard of any issues after the sale of the city's municipal water system.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments?
I just want to provide some opinions on the privatization of our water system, which is basically what's being put forward here. Obviously, we're going to allow our residents to vote on it. I don't know what that's going to look like, the outcome of that, but that is in fact what we are doing. We are actually opening the doors for the privatization of our water system. That is really what we're doing. I know we have an entire legislative agenda that we adopted, that we all supported. I think Councilmember Chavez was sort of a big contributor to that. And that entire legislative agenda focuses on the perspective of maintaining local control, right? Selling our water system is not increasing local control. In fact, it is giving up local control. We're giving up our water system. Water has become a lot more scarce in the last few years. I was going to say decades, but really almost exponentially in the last few years. So I just want to be very clear that we're giving up local control. We're privatizing. We're opening the doors to the privatization of our water system. And I think a big question we should be asking ourselves is this sort of like instant gratification in the sense that we're going to get a large amount of money right away, maybe some protections for the following years to not have the water rates increase. But what's going to happen after that, right? We're giving up that local control. So if we are handing over this to for-profit entities, we know what the outcome is going to be. It's going to be decisions that are not based on the well-being of our communities. They're based on the profitability of what is at hand. So that's kind of like my biggest concern with this whole thing. So I just wanted to communicate that to everyone and just to be heard. Thank you.
To your point, I think, yes, it's important, but at the same token, we need to look at how many residents is that water well serving right now, and it's 1/3 of our community. So looking at that and looking at the deficit that we've been time and time again every year because of our water system, the lack of being able to get the grants, and then if we do get the grants, all the contingencies that we have within those grants to fix the water, all of our residents deserve to have clean water at affordable rates. Looking at the deficits that we have coming for our city, is this a good opportunity? Yes. Is it a great opportunity? Maybe. But I would ask all of us to really focus and look at what the impacts are, not just as a one-time instant gratification of being able to accept these funds, but what is the longevity and the impact, and how's that going to help our community overall?
Mayor, if I may. Yeah, no, I really appreciate this discussion, and I want to make sure that legal and our experts that are here too, everybody on staff, really appreciate all the time and energy and discussions that's led to this point. I think at what point, I think our city engineer had mentioned that we had a discussion about this back in like 21 or 22, and then finally we got to this point. And it's difficult. And this is one of those decisions where it's one of those tough decisions that a city, that as a council, we're gonna have to make. I remember that decision back when Councilman Barcena and I were on when we were here, and we had a decision about water rates, right? And we had to go back to the residents in asking for, can we increase your water rates? And keep in mind, the rates hadn't been increased since like the 90s, right? And that was another one of those tough votes related to water. I think to Councilman Barcena's point, and as a city, we have, we should always do our best in trying to not only think of the residents that are currently living in the city, but the residents who are going to move into the city in the future, who are kids and who are going to grow up to, live in this city, all right, or continue to live in the city. And I mean, or go to school and then come back to live in Bell Gardens, right? Whether that be with their parents, grandparents, whatever the case is. So I think I do also want to consider Councilwoman Dr. Frances de Leon Sanchez's point about thinking for the future too. I look back at Measure BG. I think that's something that's really relevant. And even though the results aren't official, right? It's looking like it's going to pass. Right now, it's at 56 points in favor, with 43, with folks voting no. And after coming out of this election cycle, considering that if this item were to proceed, we would put this in the November ballot. There was a lot of miscommunication or just misinformation from a lot of residents in the public, right? Folks were saying, the council is trying to, even something as a complete street, saying that, we're investing money from the general fund into putting forward the little, the stop signs in the center of the streets and that hawk signal traffic thing that we put in on Ajax and Gage and so on and so forth, right? And in reality, those were all grant funded, and it was free money essentially from the state. So, I mean, I think that tells me one thing, that, our community is misinformed, or obviously we see that the chamber isn't full either. I thank Edwin and Mario from Southgate and from the city of Bell who are engaged, and I would love to have more engagement. We had our budget meeting, I should say, in Veterans Park, right? And there just was There just, I don't know what it was, if there wasn't an incentive to be more civically active. But I feel like as we're talking about putting forward an item like this, you know, now since we're the decision-making body, I'm thinking, you know, we're getting an offer of 41 million, right? I'm not in the business of appraising water systems. I don't know, 41 million, right? But why not put it 100 million, right? Why not put, you know, 200 million, right? Like, why only 41 million? And there's appraisals that you can kind of measure it or connect it or maybe make an assessment based or do comparables, right? What do they say usually in business? I think it's something like, well, you'll pay with how much you want it, right? You put whatever, how bad do you want the water system? And I don't think it's worth selling for 41 million, right? I think going back to Measure BG and connecting it, the big thing that the community was asking is, where is the money going to? What is the council spending the money on? And now it's one thing to say, well, maybe the community is just not attending the council meeting, maybe they're not looking at the budget. Maybe it's our responsibility to, maybe we should be the ones interacting. And I think we're all civically active on our pages. We always try to make sure the community is informed, but it's difficult. We got to take it to the ground level of knocking door to door and kind of doing a quick workshop session with each resident, just kind of informing them of what's going on when it comes to the budget. I don't know. But I think we have to Edwin's point, the commenter, you know, I think this was one of those, this is a huge item. And I think that as we approach it, what's the plan with these 41 million if we decide to do it? Have we thought about what we want to do with 41 million? Have we proposed an idea for these next 10 years? We want to invest in perhaps maybe getting another, you know, I've read that cities have bought water systems from, you know, other water purveyors, right? City of Ojai did that. I was looking into that. So I think as we approach and we talk about the future, and I think to Councilwoman Dr. Van Zellen's point, the situation that we're in right now that holds a lot of uncertainty, right? Obviously, Measure BG gives us some wiggle room, but I haven't heard a single plan about what we're going to do with 41 million. And I think that's a valid concern. So I think that I'm gonna put those comments, you know, forward and you know, maybe we need more time. I don't know. Are we struck with the deadline that this is the final meeting? We have to make this decision. But certainly, I think there should be more discussion. Thank you.
I'll be really quick. My thought process is we're here for the people, by the people. We've had these conversations. Of course, we haven't been able to include them. So I think this is an opportunity to include them, the residents. And like you mentioned, Councilmember Chavez, holding, you know, workshops and whatnot. But if this is the cutoff to make it to the ballot, I think it's essential. It's been put off for years. So it's something to really consider.
I want to thank everyone for this discussion. A lot of valid points, a lot of valid angles to consider. To Councilmember Chavez's point, you know, what are we going to do with 41 million? I think the budget reports over the years really reflect, you know, some volatility, right, with revenues. So essentially, this I think could potentially function as a buffer. While we consider other avenues, right, of bringing in revenue to the city and also waiting for other sources, right, that have been delayed over the past couple months, and we've seen it, you know, reflect on our mid-year budget reports. So I think, given the current volatility with revenues and budgeting, I think this would function as a buffer in that sense, and it would also, again, allow us to explore more avenues, right, in a calm manner without necessarily, you know, implementing rough cuts, right? And it is a tough decision, and we're here to make these decisions, right? And this is why the people elected us, right, to show up for these decisions and And I think this is a good opportunity to let the people decide again, what should we do with the system? And, at the end of the day, this is just receiving permission from the residents to proceed with negotiations. Again, based on the discussion we've had with the team here, it seems like again, just if voters decide they're in approval with the proceeding, then it doesn't necessarily mean it'll happen, right? It still requires a lot of planning, a lot of phases in the process. So again, a lot to consider, a lot of responsibility lies here today for the future of our residents and the well-being for the city's financial health. So there's a lot to consider here. And again, if there's any other questions or comments, we feel free to do so now before we entertain a motion.
Yes, I'd just like to clarify that if we agree on this right now, and this is what I understood from the question that I asked previously, if we agree right now and there aren't any changes to basically the offering that's being given to us, like we're selling the system, we're required to sell the system. And please, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding today, that if we vote yes, and there aren't any changes to what we're being offered in terms of the amount, then we're basically obligated to sell the system, correctly?
I can hear how my initial answer on that point was not clear. So let me try to be clear about that, sir. So what happens tonight is the first step toward, again, getting the voters' approval, but also the proposal is not itself a contract, right? Like your staff is going to get into negotiations with Golden State. And so now I need to be very careful how I answer this on the record, because there are thresholds that you can pass where, like, yes, you set up certain expectations and Golden State would have rights at that point. But there are a lot of details to be ironed out tonight. And so if you say yes tonight, are you required to sell the system? No. Like, that's going to get into details that your staff is going to iron out with Golden State. It's also dependent on what happens after the CPUC reviews this. I hope that clarifies it. Unfortunately, it's not always easy to give a binary, yes, no kind of answer.
Is there a scenario where if we say yes and it's approved, that we are obligated to sell the system?
Is there a situation where, so there will be a point in the negotiations where, like, your staff, Golden State staff, has sat down and turned the request for proposals and the proposal into a contract. At that point, yes, sir. Like, once you have signed a contract that has once staff, once you've approved a contract, yes, at that point you would be obligated. But right now we're just getting the ball rolling toward the voters giving you permission to do that.
Sir, that yes is based on the condition that voters do approve the sale of the water system, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so, sorry, I'm a lawyer. I sometimes use 10 words when I could use 2. Sometimes I go places that you didn't ask me to go. But so to try to get this really clear, so tonight you're saying we're going to present this to the voters. They will say yes or no on the general thing. In the meantime, or subsequent, whenever you think it's appropriate for staff to move forward, they're going to sit down with Golden State and put together the terms of sale, right? That turn all of this into a contract that then, once that is approved, with the voters approving it, assuming the CPUC doesn't materially change it, that is when you're committed. That is the point of no return.
And that doesn't require additional direction from the council, correct?
I don't, so this is, I'm going to throw this actually to Stephanie, because this goes with, I don't know what the council needs to come back and look at, if it's, or what your procedure is for approving contracts like this.
Yes, contracts do come back to the council, so we would bring the contract back to the council once we've negotiated it. CPUC has blessed it, and it would be for final approval. like John mentioned, at some point, the water system, there are negotiations that they will have rights. So Golden State at some point will have rights where we can't at that point back out.
I'm just trying to find out really this commitment that's being done with the decision from the council. I'm just trying to find out the extent at which we're obligated to move forward, assuming everything goes perfectly, quote unquote. And it seems like there is a scenario where we are going to be tied down to our decision tonight. So I just don't want to underestimate the magnitude of this decision and this vote tonight. It's what I'm trying to do.
So would tonight's decision, like, is today the final cut? Would that be kind of your question? Yeah. That we would have to vote on it for it to make the November ballot.
For the ballot, yes. So we're asking today so we can put it on the ballot measure. Obviously, if you guys don't feel comfortable, then we can have further discussion at this point. But this is at the point in time where we would present it to you, also we can put it on the ballot for November.
And just to clarify, I know today is the decision for the ballot, but I'm talking about the whole process. And I think I understand your explanation. So it's clear to me that this could be, in fact, the sort of most important vote that we make towards selling our water system.
And when we do bring back the final contract, obviously you will have a right to vote on it at that point as well. The contract that we negotiate, right? So that's the one that John was mentioning that we'd be negotiating with Golden State.
I just want to clarify, is there before it goes to the ballot, there's an opportunity to present to the community what this project is about and what we're doing? So there's opportunity for the public to get informed during that period. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes.
So I think that's one of the concerns that I hear, that one of the issues is the public needs to be aware. So part of the public outreach before it goes to the ballot, we should provide some more information to the public, possibly what the use of funds will be. These are certain things we can do during that process. Is that correct?
Of course. And what I would note is that there are certain disclosure requirements that Golden State will have under the statute, the basic outlines of it. But to your point, sir, if you're wanting to also tell people, okay, well, this is what we're going to do with the money, that's a different thing. But there are yes, this will be the time to get all that information out. This is what we're doing. This is how much we're getting. This is why we're doing it.
My following question would be to Golden State. Would they be able to, subsidize the cost of all these outreach efforts to inform the community about this subject matter?
I think if the council were to move forward, we definitely would be partners in this. Again, a lot of your constituents and people who live in your community are our customers as well. So definitely we can assist.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
I had a quick question, and this is kind of on the wheelhouse of Councilman Barcena's point. And just to clarify, so if this item were to be passed and then it's put on the ballot, the question that is being asked, or I think this is maybe the area that Councilman Barcena was aiming at, was we are asking the voters to allow us to sell the water system, but it doesn't mean that it would then be forced to be sold to Golden State Water.
No, sir. It would be specifically to sell it to Golden State Water. It would be permission to sell the system to Golden State Water. That's the framing of the ordinance.
I could have sworn we had a discussion about that, about whether or not it's first asking for permission, but there would be, how would I say it? It was two options. There was like two options that were then.
The direction was to put Golden State Water on the ballot.
I remember that part, but I remember there was two different outcomes that can come out, and it was one of those where just because the answer isn't there, it doesn't mean that that isn't an option.
Let me see if I can try to answer your question, sir. The voters are giving you permission, not obligating you to. So if they say yes, you could still say no. And if you said no at a later date and wanted to restart this and get another proposal and propose to sell it to somebody else, sure, after you've said no. But that is not before you tonight. Tonight is just about this proposal that staff recommends.
I think I remember. So if this passes through the voters, we can still deny it. Got it.
Up until the agreement
That's
point.
I'm sorry, we're trying to be super careful about the lawyerly stuff here, but there is absolutely a point. Like once voters have said yes and you have negotiated a contract that the council approves, then your hands are tied.
At what point is that? At what point does that contract come to us to have final say? Because if the election's in November 5th or November, whenever that is, election results don't get certified to December 10th, you know, depending on what the outcome is. Some of us, he might be here, some of us might not even choose to run. At what point does the new council, right, with the exception, I think, of his council, Mayor Pro Tem Guillen and myself, that we will be here, when does that decision have to be made?
Yeah, that's a moving target. You can, and that in itself is subject to part of the negotiations. It's, I mean, the voter approval won't occur until, like the certification of the voter approval won't occur until December, right? And then it goes to the CPUC. I mean, it's as far as like when you have passed that point of no return, that is subject to negotiation between you and Golden State. Right? If you want to leave it super open until the CPUC has finally weighed in, then you incorporate that into everything. You can do that. Or you can do it earlier and say this, you could do it tomorrow and say like, we're okay with this if the voters approve it and the CPUC doesn't materially change it. And between those two extremes, it is a matter of negotiation.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I can speak to my experience having gone through it with another agency. That election was in November 2016, and the purchase and sale agreement went to the council in November of 2017 after negotiations. Again, it's going to depend on the negotiations, but that's just an example from my previous experience.
Councilmember Barson, I just want to clarify to make sure that your question was answered. You know, that there is opportunity to back off from the deal up until the point of the agreement. And that agreement will come to council at some point. We just don't know when, obviously, because there are a lot of different intervals. But it won't be any sooner than December at a minimum because of the election. And then the negotiations will commence at that point. And also there's a CPUC target as well that we have no control over. But I just want to make sure if that clarified.
Thank you, because I was understanding something a little bit different, but the CPUC, if everything goes as expected, will still have a chance to vote on this contract, correct? And we can say no, and that's totally fine, right? I just want to clarify that because that's not what I understood from the previous explanation, but yeah.
Yeah, and again, sir, I apologize if I'm talking around too much. Right, no, so and once you can still back out until you have a final approved contract with Golden State Water, which is not what you're doing tonight. Tonight is about moving the ball rolling toward obtaining that final contract that you then approve, as Stephanie mentioned, no earlier than December, as Bernie mentioned, possibly next year sometime.
Thank you.
And as part of the negotiation, part of it, like John mentioned, could be that there will be no contract executed until CPUC blesses the negotiation. So that could be part of the negotiation discussions that we have with Golden State.
Any other questions or comments from my fellow colleagues? No? In that case, is there a motion? Oh, right, yes. All right, if there's no other question or comment on behalf of any council member, I will now close the public hearing at 8:02 p.m. And with that, I'll place a motion to follow through with staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
I'm so sorry, I missed two motion and second. I completely missed. Oh, and Mayor Pro Tem, thank you so much. I was so silent. I am sorry. Okay, members of the council and successor agency, Barsana,
No.
Councilmember Chavez,
Nay.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen, and Mayor de la Rosa.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 3-2.
Thank you so much. We'll now move to public participation for items not listed on the agenda. Public participation is now open. City Clerk, would you please announce the instructions for public participation?
Yes, thank you. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute period. Callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We didn't receive any public comment cards and we didn't receive any written communication, but we do have someone raising their hand virtually. Zoom ID Mario, if you would please continue with your comment. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm still knocked out by that last item. Jesus Christ. The thing I want to hit on, what the hell is I going to hit on? Oh yeah, so finally Southgate City Hall brought back Zoom. So we're going to have our first Zoom meeting tomorrow. Ours is on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month, so I'm excited about that. And so that's finally going to happen. And then a story I want to share with you, because I watch a Downey City Council meeting on YouTube. They're not going to be using Zoom. They're going to, well, yeah, Ms. Gomez, I didn't tell you what Downey's doing. Downey's going to use Touch Voice, an application I've never even heard of. I never heard of Touch Voice. They're using Touch Voice. I'll get into that with you tomorrow. But the thing that I want to say about Downey is they don't have like residential lights for large portions of their city, and they're going to spend the next 20 years. They're going to spend $500,000 a year to put streetlights in their city, and they're going to be using, I think was it Measure M or Measure R funds, one of those from Metro. They're going to use Metro funds. I'm not sure if it's Measure M or Measure R, one of those, and they're going to use $500,000 a year to pay to get residential streetlights in their city. And the reason why it's going to take 20 years is because they can't, they don't want to use general fund money and they want to keep it all in budget. So that's why they're using these Metro funds, and they only have the cap is 500,000. So I just wanted to pitch that and bring that to your attention. If your city is in need of streetlights, use these Metro funds, Measure M or Measure R, one of those two. Just wanted to share that info with you. And was there anything else I wanted to hit on? Yeah, I'm just blown away by that last item. I've never seen that before. That's astounding. I'll end with that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And we have another virtual participant. Please select the microphone icon to unmute yourself and you may proceed with your comment.
Yes, members of the City Council, thank you for your time. By the way, it's once again Edwin Gonzalez. If I may, I would like to share some thoughts during this non-agenda public comment segment. I gave myself the time to contemplate your BG measure in these recent elections and the enormous challenge you face trying to avert an economic downturn in your community. The ripple effects from an economic contraction would definitely be felt throughout the entire city. The city is so crucial to the other nearby cities because of the jobs it provides, the services, the DMV, the casino. The residents are not wealthy. Most are low income with some moderate or even solid middle class neighborhoods. However, a lot of money and productivity flows through here. Precisely here in Bell Gardens or Commerce or Bell, Southern California, it's ports, commerce, stadiums, agriculture. There's an abundance of opportunities to build sustainable economies. So I want to instill optimism in this council. There has to be solutions to these fiscal problems. It won't be easy, but the solutions are within your grasp. Hopefully, your future projects move forward and not be held back by having to cut services, lay people off, or other forms of austerity. If you incur deficits, just keep in mind that the taxpayers have entrusted you to keep the finances in order. Ask yourself, what makes Bell Gardens the dynamic and healthy community that makes people want to live here? Is it public work, which seemingly is a strong department in my observation? Is it the finance department? I've seen in other cities where some departments and personnel are outstanding, but then other departments really lack leadership more than anything, because without leadership, things just don't synchronize. And consequently, the chemistry within the entire local government apparatus eventually cracks. Improving the quality of life for the residents of Bell Gardens requires that the leadership be dynamic and as lucid as the people who inhabit this city. And if the city can successfully sell its water system to the Golden State Water Company in the future, you will have money in the city coffers. Council, you probably find yourself at the most critical juncture this city has ever experienced in its history. And I hope that other leaders like Blanca Pacheco or Senator Gonzalez can assist you. Concejales, un placer compartir con ustedes. Muchas gracias. Ahora me voy a ir a cenar. It's time to have dinner. Thank you so much and have a wonderful night.
Thank you for your comment. Mayor and members of the council, that was the last virtual participant.
Thank you so much, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council successor agency, I will now close public participation for non-agenda items. Moving on to public participation for on-agenda items. City Clerk, please announce the instructions.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We didn't receive any public comment cards and we didn't receive any written comments, but we do have virtual participant Zoom ID Mario. If you would please unmute yourself, you may proceed with your comment. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to hit again on that the item with the public hearing dealing with selling the city's water infrastructure. You know, Councilmember Chavez hit a really good point. It's like, who the hell came up with that number 41 million? I mean, you spent 30 million just to build that pool facility. I mean, it would cost you more than 41 million to build that shit today. I mean, who the hell came up with that?
Pardon for my interruption, but we are no longer speaking on items on the agenda. If you can, I'm sorry, on the public hearing item, you may proceed with your comment. Thank you.
That doesn't qualify for this round of public comment, Ms. Gomez? The public hearing?
No, that public hearing period already closed.
But it's on the agenda. I can't hit on it again?
No, that already closed. There was a public hearing item when it opened and closed, and that period is closed. This is
it's on the agenda. You tell me I can't hit on it even though it's on the agenda?
For the remaining item on the agenda, yes. Items.
All right, the thing I want to say, did staff do an evaluation of what the water infrastructure is costs? I mean, did anyone actually do an assessment and if not, then get some sort of contractor to to analyze how much that water infrastructure costs. That 41 million, that's a ripoff right there, council members. So, all right, so back to the agenda here. All right, so the one having to do with the on-call grant writing, grant administration. I gotta congratulate you for having paying for grant writers. So you might hear a shitgate. No, we don't pay for grant writers. We have it done in-house. And I've been telling these bums, you need to contract out the grant writing services, because our former director of Parks and Recreation, Steve Costley, he told me our city should have 3 grant writers, and that's all they do all day is just write grants for all the departments. So bravo that you're doing that. And then the next one after that with the Joe street sweeping services. Yeah, see, we contract our street sweeping services out too, because once upon a time we used to do it ourselves, but then they said, no, let's just sell off our machinery, and then we'll just contract it out. But so that's what we do as well. And then the other one, the dog park. So I'm glad to hear that you guys have a dog park, but I'd like to know, what was the total cost of construction for the dog park? Here it says it's $66,556.46. If that was the total cost of the dog park, if someone could confirm whether or not that was the total cost of construction, I'd appreciate it. But I'm glad to hear you guys have that. All in with that.
Thank you so much for your comments. That is the last public comment period virtually with the raised hand.
Thank you so much. If there's no objection by the members of the city council, I will now close public participation for on-agenda items. Before we proceed with committees and their updates, let's take a 5-minute break. Thank you.
Mayor and members of the council, the meeting is now being live streamed.
Thank you so much, City Clerk. We'll move over to committee updates. Does any member of the council have anything to report from their committees?
Yes.
Please.
So for the COG, if you're not aware of the event that we're having with Maywood, Bell, and Cudahy, it's the open street event happening June 20th from 9 to 2. The streets are going to be closed throughout all those cities, connecting them, leading all the way here to Bell Gardens. I know there's going to be a total of 5 hubs, even though it's only 4 cities joining. The COG is going to do a presentation off the Clara Bridge, where they're going to ask residents to go. They want them to see the setup that they're going to put there, because that's going to be an example of what they're trying to do when it comes to having pedestrians have, safe place, as well as bike riders, so on and so forth. So I invite the council to go out and check out the open streets. As far as the JPA, if you have not heard already, the judge did grant the injunction, so that gives the card rooms a little bit more time. It does give us till the first week of July to go back and hear what he's going to decide. I am happy to say, though, that the judge did agree that the JPA could file the amicus brief. So that was in our favor and denied the tribes their amicus brief. So that's really good for us. But once again, this is still ongoing, and we don't know where we're going to be yet until about the first week of July. So then at that time, I'll be able to report back. And then, Manny, did you want to add anything to that, please? Because I know you were there as well.
Yes, Councilman, I would just like to clarify that all parties were allowed an amicus brief, but the AG had initially opposed our JPA's amicus brief, but the judge overturned that.
Thank you so much. Any other updates?
Yeah, briefly, Mayor, if I may, last month we had the ICSC, the Innovating Commercial Shopping Centers Conference out in Las Vegas. We attended, by we, I mean myself, Mayor de la Rosa, along with our acting city manager, interim city manager, Manny Acosta, and our community development director, Alfonso. We went ahead and we attended the ICSC conference. We met, we took forward a folder with a lot of different properties throughout the city that were either available to market or were going to be so in the foreseeable future, trying to gauge different industries to see if they were interested, particularly with the hotel industry. That was a big one that we spent a decent amount of time, touching base with, considering that the city is the landlord for the Quality Inn where that space is. So just identifying, engagement with some of these folks. We've done follow-ups already. For us, it's about, doing that second or that third engagement with them, bringing them in person to see where exactly we could flesh things out. I mean, at this conference, you name it, there was all the big names from Dutch Bros, Raising Cane's, to Jersey Mike's, all the fast food companies that you could think of were there. And obviously our one of our biggest landlord, if not the biggest landlord from the city, Prime Store was there. We met with our Prime Store. We talked about the development in one of the shopping centers. So, I mean, just again, conversations, right? These are shopping centers that our community heavily relies on. These are the places they go on a daily basis to go do their grocery shopping, to, go to local restaurants. Our local businesses are there too, right? Small mom and family businesses, like La Taqueria. So we always want to support them. So again, it was a great opportunity for conversations, and we're hoping that we can see some of this actually flourish into reality. But that's a report on behalf of the Housing and Community Development Committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Chavez. There's no objection. We'll move over to item number 10, which is City Manager Report. Will you please conduct your report?
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. And I would just want to take this opportunity to thank the City Council and staff for the opportunity to serve as the Bell Gardens community and serve the Bell Gardens community as the acting city manager. And I wanted to give you a little updates of what's coming up this June. June 11th, Summer Nights Concert. Past Action Heroes will be performing at 7:30 p.m. June 12th, Residents Arts Yard Sale will obviously continue at Veterans Park. June 13th, a microchipping event for your pets at the Bell Gardens Dog Park at 1:30 p.m. To 3:30. June 18th, the FIFA World Cup public viewing, Mexico versus Republic of Korea at 3 p.m. at Veterans Park. June 22nd, we are taking the city council meeting on the road, and we will be having the council meeting at the Aquatic Center at 6 p.m. Please look at our agenda for the upcoming meeting. And look at our calendar for upcoming events and more details of the events. For the upcoming consent items, we have a biannual review of a conflicts of interest code. We also have an agreement with City Manager Recruitment Services, HR Dynamics, and an amendment to an existing agreement with WSP Services for the Shoal Cleanup project. An approval of cooperative agreement with LA County to continue our CDBG program. We also have installation of a blue curb disability parking designation at 5931 Gage Avenue, as approved by the Traffic Safety Commission. An amendment to an existing agreement for cross guarding services and adoption for road improvements project listed on SB1 funding. An amendment to an existing agreement to an Avant-Garde for grant writing for public works, and an amendment to an existing agreement to nationwide environmental services for street sweeping, and acceptance of the dog park project that's completed, and an agreement with LA County Food Bank to continue monthly food program services. And another last two items is consider a resolution approval city statement of investment of public facilities for year 26-27, and approval of the safety streets, roads of all action plans allows for future funding or opportunities. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Acting City Manager Acosta. We will now move to consent calendar. Does any member of the council successor agency wish to pull an item for separate discussion?
Yes, 11.18.
Thank you so much. We have a motion to approve items 11.1 through 11.18 with the exception of 11.18.
11.18. And in the interest of time, when I pull it, it's just to ask a question. We don't need to have the full report. It's not necessary.
Of course.
So just for clarification, you're asking for a motion to approve items number 11.1 through 11.17.
So move.
18.
18. 1-8, yeah. 1-8, yeah.
Second.
Sorry, I missed it again. Sorry.
I moved, and Councilmember Isabel.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thank
that. Members of the council and successor agency, Barsana. Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen. And Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion passes.
thank you. Acting City Manager, will you please pull item 11.8,
Yes.
10.18?
Absolutely, Mayor De La Rosa. For this item, consideration of a resolution adopting the city of Bell Garden Safe Streets and Roads for All action plan. We have our Public Works Director providing a brief update along with his consultant.
I believe Councilmember Barsana just had a question.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. I just wanted to ask, by the way, great job with all this work. if we adopt it and we have some feedback, are we able to suggest updates to this, or is this sort of a one-time deal and it's just that?
Yes, Councilmember Marcena, I do have Carlos Velasquez from Lochner, who actually helped us conduct the studies that led to the action plan. And I'll have him come up here so he can address that question directly.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Carlos Velasquez. I'm a principal with the transportation firm Lochner. And we led the preparation of the safety action plan for the City of Bell Gardens. To answer your question, Councilperson Barcena, yes, if you review the the plan, have any comments, we're happy to address that, answer any questions, or make any modifications. I believe I'm not privy to the status of our contract yet in terms of what our timeline is. I believe it's still active. So, but yes, if you have any comments, you can relay them to the director and he can send them over to us.
Okay, thank you. And that's all. I'll make a motion to approve.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
City Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you so much. Members of the council, successor agency Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
and Mayor de la Rosa.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, City Clerk. Moving on to discussion items. Acting City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 12.1?
This is local commission appointment list.
Does any member of the City Council wish to make any changes to the local commission? And if not, we'll move on to the next item. City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 12.2?
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. Item 12.2, consideration of resolution calling for the November 3rd, 2026 general election, requesting consolidation services with Los Angeles County and adopt regulations for candidates' statements. City Clerk Daisy Gomez will be providing you a report.
Thank you. So once this pulls up here. Okay, so we are bringing before you the 2026 municipal election. It's scheduled this year on Tuesday, November 3rd. And the item that will be on the ballot for the City of Bell Gardens is the 3 regular election city council seats. They're at large and they're to serve a 4-year term. And then the election process, so these are just critical dates that were put together for you to know what will be happening. So that on June 18th or by June 18th, a notice of election will be posted, which is our legal noticing. On July 13th is the first date for candidates to come pick up their nomination packets. August 6th is the very last day. And because the City Hall for City of Bell Gardens, our normal business hours is Monday through Thursday. Those are the hours that we have posted. So from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. The public review period, so for the candidate statements that have been provided or filed, will be available for the public to review from August 7th through August 17th. On August 13th, the Secretary of State will have a random alpha drawing by 11 a.m. and that'll determine the order of the candidates' names on the ballot. And then by December 1st this year, we will get our election results. They actually will finalize it at the end of November, but they will certify it by December 1st. And then December 14th is when the City Council for Bell Gardens will have their reorganization. And that's when the new offices or incumbents will take their oath of office. So the election is held by the City of Bell Gardens, but we hire basically the Los Angeles County, who's responsible for conducting the general election for the city. And then the candidate statements, so there's a 200-word limit, and they are going to have options. So it's just as we've done before the last election, which is printing on the voter information guide, posting it on the county's website. And the candidates could also decide to do none of the two, or either of them, or both. And for each one, there is a cost. And then, so tonight, the request is for council to call the election for the general municipal election, and to be held on November 3rd, 2026. A request to consolidate it with the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, and to adopt the regulations for candidate statements, including the optional online candidate statement. And I am here for any questions.
Thank you so much, City Clerk. Any questions, comments from my fellow colleagues? And if not, may I have a motion? I'll second.
For clarification, you're making a motion to approve staff's recommendation?
That is correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, members of the council and successor agency, Barcena. Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
City Manager, will you please announce the following discussion item?
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. Last item is the consideration of the resolution adopting fiscal year July 1st to 2026 to June 30th, June 27th, 2027, operating capital improvement budget and comprehensive plan establishing again appropriation limits for fiscal year 2026, 2027. And our Director of Finance and Administrative Services, Manuel Carrillo, will be providing you a report on this.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, this evening we will be providing an overview of the proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year 26-27. We are providing an overview of the projected general fund revenues and expenditures, as well as the projected all city funds figures. As you recall, we provided an initial preliminary report at the May 11th meeting. For the current fiscal year 25-26, we are projecting a deficit of 1.97 million at the end of the fiscal year. For fiscal year 26-27, we are projecting a deficit of 3.6 million. The proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget includes one-year labor agreements with all existing labor groups. Now, let's see. There we go. Thank you. The proposed budget is factoring a vacancy rate of 7.5%. We are expecting an increase of about 535,000 in JPI insurance coverage for the city. There have been some developments since our initial May 11th presentation. The 1/4 add-on sales tax measure BG voted on the June 2nd election is projected to pass, currently at 57% at the time of this report. And a preliminary injunction blocking the Attorney General's card room rules was granted 45 days, with the follow-up hearing scheduled for June 30th, later this month. Here we revisit the current fiscal year 25-26 general fund budget. It was adopted at 50,060,167 for both revenue and expenditures. At mid-year, we projected increases to revenue as well as increases to expenditures, resulting in a deficit of 1.98 million. After further review, the calculations we project our slight adjustments to year-end figures, resulting in a deficit of 1.97 million through the end of the current fiscal year. This next slide provides an overview of our projected fund balance at June 30th, 2026. As we can see on the figure in the top right corner represents the actual fund balance at June 30th, 2025. Now, this is the audited and confirmed fund balance figures provided as part of our recently completed ACFR for fiscal year 24-25. We then see the projected change in fund balance for fiscal year 25-26. Now, this is the projected deficit that we identified of 1.97 million. This results in a projected fund balance at June 30th, 2026 of 23,457,505. This amount represents two components. One which is funds assigned to leave accruals, general obligations, and contingencies. The other is referred to as non-spendable, which are water fund receivables or money that the water fund owes the general fund, as well as other calculated receivables. Once again, these figures are part of our audited financial statements. Here we have an overview of our projected general fund budget for fiscal year 26-27. We have revenues projected at 49,043,704 and expenditures projected at 52,717,773. This would result in a projected deficit of 3.6 million for the fiscal year. This slide provides a pie chart which identifies the top general fund revenue sources by category. The next slide will provide greater detail on this information as well. Here we have an overview of the key components of general fund revenues. What we have here is a side-by-side comparison of the prior year's adopted figures for fiscal year 25-26 and what was projected for 26-27. The areas with expected reductions from the prior year are card club tax, which is projected to come in at about 1.5 lower than the prior year. Reductions in calculated Measure A add-on sales tax of approximately 77,000. This is based on HDL projections provided to the city. Other areas with expected reductions are operating transfers in, loan proceeds, and pool fees. Areas where we expect to see increases from the prior year are motor vehicle in lieu, sales and use tax, the projected 1/4% add-on sales tax, Measure BG, rental registry and loan repayments or ROPS, and other areas with expected increases. The next slide provides a breakdown of the top general fund revenue sources by percentage. As we can see here, the top 10 revenue sources make up approximately 86.25% of the city's general fund revenue budget. This next graph provides a historical overview of the casino revenue over the last several years. The projected year-end casino revenue is 17,013,047 at June 30th of this year. For fiscal year 26-27, it is proposed to come in at 17,437,862 based on recent performances and projections moving forward. This next table provides a comparative breakdown of general fund expenditure categories showing the prior year adopted for fiscal year 25-26 and the proposed figures for fiscal year 26-27. We see increases to personnel services, the program 3% increase due to new labor agreements, as well as other associated personnel increases. Increases in contractual services driven by increases to JPI insurance premiums. Increases associated with the June 2nd election, which will be paid in 26-27, as well as citywide IT contractual increases. We expect overall reductions in department supplies and capital outlays. We expect increases to debt services. This is due in part to the new energy efficiency project, which is expected to result in offsetting energy savings. Significant increases in transfers to other funds, primarily driven by increases to transfers out for gas tax, transfers out to ROPS, which is offset by additional revenue, and increases to overall retiree health commitments for the city. This includes standard annual transfers to reserves of 200,000, and as indicated, a vacancy rate of 7.5% is utilized. And overall, personnel and contractual services combined to make up approximately 89.96% of the general fund expenditure budget. This next slide shows the details associated with the personnel expenditures. As indicated, this factors in a 3% increase associated with the new one-year labor agreements. The overall figures include increases to multiple categories such as CalPERS retirement, health insurance, workers' compensation, and sick leave/vacation leave cash outs. For fiscal year 26-27, there is an offset in savings associated with overtime requests for the year. There is a projected reduction in requested overtime of about $239,000 for fiscal year 26-27. This table provides, excuse me, a historical breakdown of the full-time positions. In fiscal year 26-27, we are budgeting 157 full-time positions. This reflects an additional one position added to the Community Development Division during the additional appropriations process in the current fiscal year 25-26. The next following slides will provide an overview and further detail on some of the key expense categories for 26-27. Here we have on this side, we get a bit more detail in terms of the contractual services for fiscal year 26-27. Contractual services are projected to come in at $14,453,869. Now, this is an increase of about $342,000 from the prior year, and it consists of approximately 27.42% of the general fund expenditure budget. Now, this increase is driven by a few factors, an increase of about $535,000 in JPI insurance premiums for fiscal year 26-27, increase of about $100,000 in expenses associated with elections in fiscal year 26-27, increase of about $200,000 in software licensing and IT expenses associated with citywide events and special project support. Now, these increases are offset by overall reductions in contractual expenditures for police, public works, and recreation and community services. On this slide, we see a bit more detail in terms of the department supplies category. This consists of general supplies that each respective department needs to run operations and activities for the city. For fiscal year 26-27, department supplies are projected to be $1,209,180. This is an increase of $106,000 from the prior year. I'm sorry, decrease of $106,000 from the prior year, and consists of approximately 2.3% of the general fund expenditure budget. Next, we have an overview of capital outlay section of the general fund expenditures. This consists of one-time purchases utilized to acquire or improve long-term assets. For fiscal year 26-27, it is expected to come in at $1.4 million. This is an overall decrease of about $997,000 from the prior year and consists of approximately 2.73% of general fund expenditures. In this section, we see increases to police IT hardware and software, as well as PD vehicles. Overall, capital outlay is expected to decrease in fiscal year 26-27 due to combined reductions for community development, public works, recreation and community services, and IT services. On this next slide, we see further details regarding transfers out. These are general fund transfers out to other city funds. For fiscal year 26-27, it is projected to be $3.8 million, with an increase of about $1.9 million from the prior year, and it is approximately 7.25% of the general fund expenditure budget. This increase is a result of, as indicated, $536,000 increase in transfers to gas tax for the prior year, transfers to Ross of about $1 million. Now, this increase from the prior year is offset by additional revenue that's received, and an increase of approximately $393,000 in overall retiree health commitments and premiums. Here we have the debt service section. This consists of principal and interest payments for bonds and loans received by the city. This amount is approximately $1 million for fiscal year 26-27. These include payments related to the 2015 lease bonds, energy savings lease purchase agreements, and the newly adopted energy savings lease agreement, which is set to go into effect in fiscal year 26-27, which is expected to offset by energy savings as well. Now, at the bottom of this portion of this page, we see the total city debt calculations as of June 30th, 2025. Now, these are figures confirmed by our auditors as part of our ACFR preparation. They provide a snapshot of net pension liability, retiree health liability, as well as the value of other outstanding debts as of June 30th, 2025, and these are assessed annually as part of the auditing process. This chart represents the distribution of general fund expenditures by percentage for each department or category. As we can see, the largest being, of course, PD, finance, risk management, public works, and recreation, and for the fiscal year 26-27. This table is associated with the previous slide and provides greater detail as to the comparison between fiscal year 25-26 adopted and the 26-27 proposed for each respective department or category. The next portion or next series of slides is a breakdown of our capital improvement projects for fiscal year 26-27. And it is essentially just a listing of the different projects that are going to be embarked on for the fiscal year 26-27. I'll just go down so you can see in detail some of the items here. Overall, the capital improvement project proposed for fiscal year 26-27 is an allocation of approximately 1.7 million. Currently, there are about 31 million in carryover CIP projects from fiscal year 25-26 and prior years that are still in the process. Now, in accordance with city purchasing policy, each project over 10,000 is brought to before council for approval. This slide is the projected all city funds budget for fiscal year 26-27. It is proposed to be 73,511,670, and it consists of 34 overall funds, which includes the general fund, special revenue funds, capital projects, enterprise funds, and successor agency. Here we have a breakdown of the water utility fund balance and the the amount owed to the city general fund. By the end of the current fiscal year 25-26, the water utility deficit is expected to decrease by about 946,000. In fiscal year 26-27, the water utility is projected to gain an additional $1 million. Now, water utility revenue includes one-time PFAS settlement funds. In previous years, the water utility has borrowed from the general fund to cover cash deficits. Now, by the end of fiscal year 26-27, the water utility fund is projected to owe the general fund approximately $3.7 million at the end of fiscal year 26-27. And to provide a recap, we project a deficit of 1.97 million at the end of the current fiscal year 25-26. Fiscal year 26-27 is projected to have a deficit of 3.6 million. The fiscal year 26-27 budget includes one-year labor agreements with all existing labor groups. This budget is factoring in a vacancy rate of 7.5%. It factors in programmed increases of 535,000 in insurance coverage premiums for the city through its JPA insurance pool. The 1/4% sales tax measure GBG is projected to pass. It's currently at 57% for yes as of the completion of this report. On May 21st, the preliminary injunction blocking AG card room rules was granted for 45 days. A new hearing is scheduled for later this month on June 30th. This budget adoption packet includes the adoption of the city's capital improvement budget, salary schedule, and gain limit appropriations for fiscal year 26-27. That does conclude my report. I'm available to answer any questions that council might have on the topic.
Thank you so much, Mr. Carrillo. Any other questions, comments?
Yes, thank you so much for putting together the budget. I know we've seen it several times. Couple questions. So if we end the year projecting about 3.67 million in deficit, how much of that would come from our reserves or our fund balance?
Well, it would effectively reduce fund balance by that amount if that is what would actually be carried out at the end of the year. So we are projecting 3.6. If it were to be that at the end of 26-27, the overall fund balance would reduce by that portion.
And since our fund balance is going to be reduced, and we were to consider what is like a minimum safe level to have in our reserves, especially because we depend so much on our card room.
Well, by law adoption, I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's 10%. You have to have a 10% reserve of what your expenditure budget would be for the year. So at this point, we're saying a $52 million expenditure budget. 10% would be about 5 million for that. So we would be within that threshold.
What are like the top three, I would say, physical risks that you would ask the city council to monitor, watch throughout the year, just so that we can take action to make sure we're not affecting the essential services of our community?
I think effectively every department has done a really good job of monitoring that all together. Overall, I feel like we've maintained a level of service that's wonderful for the community. I think in terms of exploring, we would probably have to look at, is there anything that's critical at that point in time? But I feel like at this moment, trying to doing our best we can to maintain the level of service that we have is priority for us. But at the same time, always looking at potentially if there's something that we could potentially go without, we would need to take a look at it, but we would have to look at it in detail to see what would be critical versus what isn't.
With that being said, would it be possible for staff to provide council with the quarterly update, specifically tracking the deficit, revenue assumptions, and then reserve impacts? And then since it looks like Measure BG is going to pass, since we're at 57% right now, I would also ask staff to prepare a report so that we're able to show the community exactly how we're spending Measure BG, specifically how we're preserving public safety, parks, youth and senior services, and any other essential services.
So Dr. Leon Sanchez, in the past, we have provided revenue updates. We can, and in conjunction with our city manager, we can definitely schedule it to where it is on a quarterly basis. So we can provide an overall revenue versus expenditures at the time. And then if there's any critical item that stands out, we can provide that at that time as well. But we can put it on our regular docket for a quarterly report if you wish.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. Just very briefly, and we don't need a ton of details. Well, I don't need a ton of details, but what would you say are the biggest efforts in reducing our spending that we've taken so far? And it's okay if we haven't. I just want to know, like, if we're already taking action on that beyond just the the Measure BG and also working through the JPA. This goes for the director or the city manager.
Would you like to? I'm sorry. Well, I think like I mentioned to Dr. Francis Leon, I think overall departments have taken a very proactive approach in terms of trying to reduce their expenditures overall. We understand there is a critical need across the city. We want to make sure that we provide a base level of service for the community. But everyone in conversations when we've had these budget meetings, when we start the process in April, we sit down for an extensive period of time with every department, go through their items in detail, and they do a really great job of trying to identify, do we need this? Is it critical? We have sort of a threshold of, it's something we got to keep going versus could we reduce it somewhat? But overall, everyone does put in a conscious effort to try to do so.
Some of the efforts with at least the community development department and other departments have been doing is the biggest budget portion is salaries. So transferring using grants and other programs that to offset those salaries has reduced some in some of the departments. You may see that the number of employees might increase, but they're paid out of grants or a portion of their salary. So those efforts, that's what some of the departments have been doing to reduce the general fund, but using other sources that are eligible for salaries.
Thank you so much for the comments and questions and the presentation. A set of slides that really stood out to me were the ones that list the capital improvement projects. It was nice to see the diversity in source of funding. In the future, I'd like to continue seeing more of that use, right? From out, not including, the general fund, but more diverse sources, right? And it was nice to see that, most of these are coming from grants and separate funds and measures and props. And
I would like to commend Public Works because they always do a good job of trying to find alternate sources as opposed to general fund. They're hard work and working with the county and other sources as well to try to find funding solutions for the city.
Thank you so much, and so that was great to see, and I hope we do carry forward, this momentum there, for the sake of our general fund. Any other questions or comments regarding my fellow colleagues?
No questions for me.
Comments. Wonderful. If that's the case, may I have a motion to approve staff's recommendation?
Move.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the Council and Successor Agency, Barcina.
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen.
Yes.
And Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That said, we'll move over to City Council Successor Agency Member comments. We'll go ahead and start with the order that's provided.
Okay, I guess that's me. Just kind of wanted to see who's going to Open Streets. Anybody here? Open Streets, okay. Just checking. Looking forward to seeing you guys all over there. I had a resident reach out about Scout and bumps or humps. They're wanting to look into putting humps there. Their reasoning is that there's an increased amount of vehicles and traffic in that area, and they brought up a point about sorry, I have something. They brought up a point. I'm good, thank you. About aquatic season rolling up right now in the summer, and there probably will be a considerable increase in the amount of pedestrian traffic around that area. Just wanted to ask, is there any way that we can look into that without going through the usual process, right, which involves getting signatures from the neighbors and all that good stuff? And you guys don't have to provide an answer now, but maybe if you want to circle back with me, or if you need time to look into it, that'd be fine. Just want to bring it up. Thank you. And I have some notes here. It says meetings, but I don't remember what I wanted to ask about meetings. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for an incredible meeting. Today was one of those meetings where we had to make one of those tough decisions. They don't come often. Usually we're a pretty much solid 5-0 council. But I just want to thank everybody from the staff, from the folks that joined us, for the information. And I also want to welcome our new interim city manager, Mr. Manny Acosta. Thank you for all the incredible work you did as a community development director, and we look forward to continually have you be on this dais with us and steer our ship in the right direction. And also congratulate Alfonso on the interim community development director, as he did an incredible job as a city planner. I've seen both of you two work in action when it comes to putting forward our residents. So again, I just want to congratulate you both, and again, thank you for the incredible work that each of you does. Thank you.
First and foremost, thank you to the entire staff and to my colleagues. As we all witnessed today, we may agree to disagree, and that's okay. We're still all on the same team, Team Bell Gardens, and we want what's best for our community, whatever that looked like to each of us, okay? I also agree with Councilmember Barcina on Scout. I know this is not the first time that this has been brought up, but I think the summer, since it's so busy, especially this past weekend, if you notice, the park was jam-packed. We had multiple things happening there. We had a swim meet. We had Univision there with like the soccer stuff. And so I think it's just really important that we have more police presence there. I know that we're able to change the stop signs so that they're flashing, but unfortunately, whether it is our residents or people coming through Bell Gardens, people do not respect the stop signs in that area. So thank you for bringing that up today as well.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to our former and new team members to the team. And happy birthday, belated council member Jorge Chavez. Hope you celebrated happily. And I would like to request if we can take a look at the gym equipment at Veterans. I did notice it's a little, some of it needs some repair. And if we can look into those advocacy efforts for the water cell system, starting now, so we have time. So thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, staff, our legal team, our new acting city manager. Thank you, everyone, for such a productive meeting. As was echoed earlier, we had to make a crucial decision, right? One that will affect the generations of Bell Gardens to come, and that's why we're here to make these tough decisions. And you know, while Measure BG was in the talks, a lot of concerns from residents came about, like, oh, well, what other avenues are we exploring? And this would be one of them. And this would be a decision that would also lay upon the voters. And now it's just a matter of providing, you know, all this crucial information to the hands of our residents to make a sound decision. And as well, we'll also be very accessible to provide information and provide our perspectives. I know we all voted a little bit differently today, and I think this is what makes Bell Gardens strong. You know, the difference of opinions, points of views, and all these are crucial. And this will be very important in the coming months. So again, I want to thank everyone for such a productive meeting, and yeah, have a good night. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council, I will now adjourn the council meeting at 9:18 p.m. Thank you.